Today we got my brother Justin Cook that we met at the Power Networking Conference, and he does some good stuff out in the New York area, and we wanted to bring him on and let him share what he does. Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you, Ross. My name is Justin Cook, and a few years back, I came together with a youth development program that helps students with literacy. And how I do that is I go to schools and I ask them what they're learning, particularly the book and the curriculum, and I turn that into escape room experience, immersive learning experience for children who happen to learn hands on more than sitting at a desk.
Yeah, which most children nowadays do. You know, they get bored just sitting there listening to somebody talk all the time. I know I do. Shoot.
Right, right, right,
That's what's up,
absolutely.
bro. So tell us a little bit about your background. Like, how'd you get started? You know, I know you're from New York, but tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you the short version.
Right.
So this idea was birthed through a wrongful conviction.
Okay.
In 2013, I was wrongly convicted, sentenced to 12 years, and I did about 7 years of that before I got a complete reversal, then a dismissal. And while I was home, um, there were no spaces available to me, right? It's more so, yeah, you got the wrongful conviction. It was on the news. I have one of the leading cases in the state of New York. But going to employers, it was difficult because you have to explain that 7 year gap. And also, I came home with a new purpose, with a new direction. I didn't want to go back to my old employer. I didn't want to finish out a career. What I was in, I was in the publishing and marketing space in Midtown and downtown Manhattan. I said I wanted to do something to prevent that school to prison pipeline because when I was incarcerated, I felt like I was in high school all over again. And I felt like society prepared me for this moment. And unfortunately, it didn't prepare me for college. However, it's ironic that I did attend college while I was incarcerated and continued while I was home and graduated with honors in social work. So during that time, I was continuing school and also I started construction. I had obtained 8 certifications in construction and I wanted to get into real estate as well. So I started my um, journey with real estate through construction. However, God always has a way of putting you where you need to be and not where you want to be. And one day on a job, pushing a container filled with debris and cement, close to 400 pounds. The bridge collapsed and it crushed my toe. So another setback.
Yeah.
So while I was sitting home recovering, I said, here was my daughter who, um, during the time of my arrest, she wasn't even born yet. She was born 3 weeks later. And I said, this is my time to, strengthen my bond with my daughter. And I said, you know what? There's an escape room up the block. Let's go there. And we went there. And wow, man, I saw how well my daughter was receptive to the riddles and the messages in the room because we were trapped in this college dorm setting and we
Mhm.
had to get out before the professor had came in and knew that we broke into that dorm to retrieve some documents. So man, she killed it, man. I was the one like scratching my head, like, how did you
Yeah.
get that? I was overthinking everything. So
Yeah.
I said, this is experience that I want to provide people, parents, children who can't afford to experience escape room activities, but also I felt it as a new way of learning for children. So I started out that way and I said, escape rooms is phenomenal, but it needs to have a learning aspect. And I said, you know what? I love to read. I read while I was incarcerated. But prior to that, my father used to take me to 125th Street in Harlem. and I always had to pick up books during the weekends. So that was how my weekends were spent,
Yeah.
finding books to read, and that that is how I started my love for reading. So I said, let me incorporate the two. And my first year putting everything together was pretty much a challenge because it was an idea that was never implemented before.
Mhm.
So you can imagine going to schools, public schools, private schools, and asking, okay, I make ELA curriculum-based escape rooms. They was like, wow, dude,
What?
huh? How
Yeah.
are you even doing that?
Yeah.
How? Like, so that in itself was a challenge because it was like, we don't know how you're doing it. And we don't have the visual. So I had to get the visual and through my best friend's wife. She worked at a private school and she got me in for my first event. And man, once I got the visual, I was able to push it off onto other schools and they seen it. And by the second year, it went from having just one private school to that same private school and eight other schools. And now I'm in the public sector. And then the third year, Queens Public Library found out what I was doing and they gave me a 10 contract right there off the bat, 10 event contract. And it just started to build up. And once the community heard what I was doing, man, it was just like no looking back.
That's what's up. Tell us a little bit about. I mean, you grew really fast. Like you said, once you created that visual, people understood, and then from there you just blew up. Tell us a little bit how they escape. Like if you go to a school, how's the escape room look? You set it up there, or y'all do like a remote location? How do y'all do it?
Absolutely. So I will go to the school, and when I speak to the principal, we map out where we're going to have the event at. Usually, it's two classrooms adjacent, so we can basically have one group in while the other ones are out. We have a waiting room, and then we have 4 to 5 children going to the other classroom that I construct this escape room. So I go to the schools and I construct it after I get a map out of the classroom. I see it, I visualize how I'm going to put it together while I'm there. That's where that experience from construction comes in at because I can look at something and that's where those attributes went to.
Yeah,
They just didn't go in vain. So now I can look at it and be like, okay, I can construct something here and there and know what type of materials to use that it's also safety related as well because we're dealing with a lot of children. And of course, when we're playing, you have to be extra cautious when it comes to the safety of the children once they're in there as well.
yeah,
And I've constructed um, prop elevators that you can go into and press buttons and they
yeah.
light up, and you got to put electrical cords together in a safe way again that
Mm.
turns on the elevator panel, buttons that you have to press in sequence, and you hear the voice, the audio version of the books where you have to put it in the proper sequence for it to unlock a clue for you. Um, Man, I mean these things that I construct, these escape rooms, I go to the place and I construct them based on the space that they have available to me. And that's public schools, community centers, and also public libraries as well.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Usually, how long does it take you to build it out once you visualize it?
In a school setting, I like to take my time. I like to get every detail in. So it could take me 2 to 3 days prior to the event going off. If it's on a Thursday, I'm probably starting that Monday. However, Queens Public Library, there's times that I come in and set in an hour before and I could put it together and have it. It depends on how big the escape room experience is in the designated space that I have and also the time that they want me to be there. If it's an hour event, then I'm doing an escape room that, you know, somewhere along the lines takes me 30 to an hour to put together. If it's a major event that's in a school, sometimes I might have different schools, 3, 4 schools come into one school to compete against each other. Those escape rooms I'll take 2 to 3 days to put together just to get the details the way that I want them.
Yeah, a lot of preparation, a lot of planning. And I know after you've done it for a while, it kind of clicks a little faster than at first, I'm sure.
Man, apps, man, there's things, specifically the elevator. It's a book based on Jason Reynolds' um, Long Way Down.
Okay.
It's an incredible book. It talks about the vicious cycle of gun violence um, in urban communities, and it takes place inside of an elevator. And this particular escape room, that was like my brainchild, right? Because that was the first actual escape room that I put together that was similar to the escape rooms that you might go to with a group of people or your family or your friends, and you're in an immersive learning experience. And that was the first one that I actually got it down pack. That one, hmm, like I said, man, it can take, I got it to where it only takes me an hour to set up, a little bit less than that. And also the pieces that I put together, I was able to modify it over time where I'm looking at it and say, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. Maybe I can change it. And just having that experience again with construction, man, it just like everything clicks in my mind like, oh, those pieces will work and I can push it in like a Lego piece and it'll come together. And when the parents see it and they are inside the escape room and they see it crafted, they're like, man, you really have something special. And that's
So
when it clicks to me in my mind of what I'm actually contributing to the society.
that's what's up. That's what's up. And I'm sure as you were saying that as you do it and you see it, you perfect it as you go.
Absolutely.
What's up? That's what's up. That's what good business owners, good entrepreneurs do. We don't afraid. We just go out and do what we need to do, get it started, and then we adapt and adjust as we go.
Absolutely.
That's what's. Let me ask you this because we do specifically talk about investments and business, so on and so forth. So how do you monetize what you do? Are they contracts you from the city, from the school? They pay you for that, or the students pay you? How does it work?
Yes, when I started out, I wasn't a DOE vendor, and that's a Department of Education vendor. You have to have a license to actually operate inside the public school sphere. So I was working in the public schools, and they would just cut me a check. When I first started out, it was more like, okay, we're going to pay you this amount of dollars, and you come in here for, say, we having a spirit week where it's just a bunch of vendors or a bunch of individuals coming into the school, and it could be either cooking or you have your niche and you come in and you do your thing. For me, that was my opportunity to come into the public, I mean the private school sector and be able to, make a few bucks. Nothing major, but it got my start out. And then once I was able to go to the public schools and say, here, this is what I've done. This is my track record in the public school sector. They was able to vouch for me. And that's how I was able to get my DOE vendor because you have to be vouched for. Someone, a school admin has to put that paperwork in for you to say that we stand by what he does, we stand by his brand and his product, and you know he gets a pass to come into the schools. So that's how I was able to get into the pass, and now I get state contracts from the school budget.
Oh man, that's nice. That's nice. We know as far as business concerned, when you're dealing with things like schools and public and government, that's usually unlimited, what you can do there. Are you looking to branch out to different states and different areas, or are you gonna stick with New York?
So absolutely, I'm definitely, as a businessman, you always want to look at if your product and your brand is scalable. And when I started out, it was uplifting in why for a reason, because then I would say the next thing once I scale out of New York, then it'll be uplifting CT, uplifting New Jersey, uplifting Atlanta, uplifting California, uplifting, so it was creating that scalable structure there, right? And then man, you always got to be innovative and you always have to be able to have your tool bag ready. And that's that critical thinking that I teach these children because just recently the schools were hit drastically with um the school budgets being cut, being slashed, So that became an issue in itself where I had to pivot to corporate sponsorships and getting them to fund the events that I was putting together for these children.
That opened another new skill set that you had to go after.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know them corporate sponsors. That's a lot of salesmanship when it comes to that.
Man, I wear many hats, many hats. So at one point I'm the man, the mad scientist with the lab coat on, putting together an idea. When I'm reading this book, I'm like, yeah, I can put this together. This sounds good, and getting the ideas together. And then I gotta say, okay, well, I got to put this into a presentation because I got to send it to such and such corporation so I can be able to get the funding for that. So then I got to wear different hats on that, where now I become this grant writer or, getting an RFP, or I have to become this guy who's putting together presentations. So then I could be the next guy, pass it off to myself, passing that it's like a relay race, you're just passing the baton off to yourself. And now I'm like, okay, now I got to go in there and I got to sell it, but it sells, the product sells itself, the service sells itself. And now AI is making it a lot easier for me as well. Even though I have board members who believe in me as a person and this idea that I have. So pretty much that's a good part that I don't have to worry about is the books and the accounting, and far as when the funding does come in, they take care of that. But everything pretty much is on me. Even though I do have a team who's focused on it, nobody's gonna chase chase the dream down like yourself when you see it.
Yeah, nobody. Your money is not important to everybody else as it is to you. So
Right.
that's what's up, man. Maybe offline we'll talk. Maybe I'd like to talk to you about doing some sponsorship through one of my businesses or something like that. So, hey, brothers helping brothers. That's what we do, right?
I
Uh,
appreciate it.
and when I was hearing you talk about expanding, I see, just personally, just looking from the outside, man, that's a big franchisable model right there. I mean, you could build that out and just sell franchises to other people like Mathnasium or, how they do it.
Absolutely. When I was going into these schools, I would have people come by like admin and they'll be real quick, whispering it to me like, man, you can scale this, this right here. Man, I gotta get you in contact with this person out in Harlem or this person in the Bronx because they need this badly. And once I started getting those whispers constantly, I knew something was going to pop when I first started.
Yeah.
Before I even got into all of the schools, I knew I had something gold. I knew I had struck gold just by the reaction that I got from everybody who was participating and heard about it. Um, it really showed me that I had something.
Yeah. No, from just the brief time we talked, man, I was like, genius, brother. The concept is genius. Something I could have never even fathomed. And you took, a need and something that's popular now with escape rooms, and you put it all together and made it into a business, man. That's what entrepreneurs do. The ingenuity, the mindsets that we have, man. I definitely, you know, say to you, brother, that you're doing your thing. You know what I'm saying? You're doing your thing, and that's what's up, man. That's what's up. And I congratulate you on that, and all the success that will come because I know just based on us talking that you're gonna put the work in and it's gonna happen.
Absolutely, man, because I'm very passionate about this. And there were a lot of things that in my life was pointing me in different directions. But what I've learned is, when you got to flow, when something comes easy to you, and when you walk in that direction, and the door is just continuously open for you, it's for you. It's what you were here to do. And man, that's what I get my um inspiration from. To wake up every morning and say, okay, how can I make this bigger? How can I make this better? And I'm not chasing the money, but I'm chasing the purpose of how many kids can I reach, how many families, how many communities I can build with this concept, with this idea, teaching the children to read. And it's not just reading, but it's also not leaving those kids behind who learn differently, like myself. In school, it was like I never really much paid attention because I'm more of a hands-on. I need first experience. I need to touch it. It has to be tangible. And with my program, it's more so not a program, but a movement because I also call it, it's also known by the learning renaissance, right? Because as we go into the 21st century, learning can't look the same way it did in 1950, 1960 when we was gearing students for factory jobs where it's based off of rote learning and we're just focused on them memorizing the information and them regurgitating it once they get into the career space, right? That doesn't exist for us anymore. So how are the kids still learning the same when the playing field has changed and it doesn't look the same at all? It has a drastic makeover. So we have to drastically make over how we teach our children in these classrooms and how it's going to look in the 21st century. That's up to us to decide how it's going to look. And the way it's going to look is is purpose. And the purpose is to really teach these children how to be not just successful individuals, but successful as human beings, successful in the community, and being able to be like that W.E.B. Du Bois said, that talented 10. Instead of having just 1 out of 10 individuals going back and helping their community, we have all 10 that's putting in and supporting their community, and they're critically thinking and they're adapting to their environment, and they're also working as a community. And that's what we have to get back to, but we have to do it in a way that aligns with how the 21st century is going to look. We see what AI is doing now. Who's to say how the world is going to look and how the playing field for jobs is going to look in the next 15, 20 years, right? Because we already know it's happening now, but it's drastically going to look different in the next 10 years, 20 years, right? And these are what we gearing these children towards. How are they going to survive in that kind of world? And we got to step it up. And that's what I do. I make sure, okay, this is for the tangible learners. I also have things for the people who learn in other ways. But now that AI is among us, I'm gonna have to pivot again because that's what entrepreneurs do. We find what is needed and we make sure that, okay, there's a need for that and we have a service for that need. And that's what I'm doing.
That's what's up, brother, and you're doing it for sure. That's what's up. One, I don't know if my audience caught it, but I'm gonna point it out. A nugget that you dropped was not chasing the money. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially new ones or younger ones, they want to chase money, and it's not about that. It's not about chasing the money. It's about, like you said, making a difference. Providing a service to the community or to the world, essentially. And then after you do that, after you build that out, then the money will come. Right? It's automatic, right? But a lot of times we go in as entrepreneurs and we want to go and chase the money, and then hope everything else falls in line, and it never does because we're just chasing money, right? And we know chasing money, you ain't gonna never catch it. You know what I'm saying? You ain't
Right.
gonna never. You catch it to a certain degree, and then it's going some more gonna run away from you, and then you're gonna try to catch it some more. It's a never-ending battle. You know.
Right. And you end up that disgruntled customer service agent that's there, that they hate their job, they don't want to be there because they were chasing the money instead of the purpose. And they ended up, like you said, you get some of it, but you don't get all of it. It's like it's like the carrot and the stick, like you're running on a treadmill and you end up being that hamster in the wheel when you realize even if I do get the salary I want, I feel empty inside.
Yep.
And this is not happiness. And a lot
Nope.
of people chase that and they don't find what drives them, what inspires them, what motivates them. So they get caught up in that, well, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that for the money. No, do what makes you whole. Do what makes you feel complete. And
Yep.
everything else will fall and everything will align.
Yeah, and then like you said, that helps you get you up every morning because at a certain point, the money is not going to keep motivating you. Well, for most people, it won't. There's some people that's their main motivation is
Right.
making money, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for the most people, it's about making a difference, having something that they're building, the process, the climbing the ladder of success, so on and so forth, that keeps you going every day. Especially as entrepreneurs. One of my last podcasts I did, I was just talking about people struggling in business nowadays with everything going on, political system, government shutdown, all that type of stuff. And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you have to learn how to navigate that because it's always going to be there. You're going to have good times, you're going to have bad times, and then if you don't learn how to cope with that, then it makes it tough for you to actually build something significant. And then who suffers? Your client. In your case, the youth, right? Society, because what you're doing is helping not only the children now, but their children, generations to come, right? Because once we establish that in our homes, that reading, literature, literacy is important, and those type of things. School, if that's your path, or owning your own business, that's your path. That stems from you to them to their peoples. Even it could even be their parents that you're helping that you don't even know. But so you in your experiences when you help children, what is the outcome that you usually look for, and what's the outcome you usually get?
I'm always gonna go to my first experience um, at the private school. There was a private school in Cambria Heights specifically that when I came in there, man, they treated me like I was a superstar, right? They came as soon as I came in, it was like, "Oh wow, you're here!" Like I arrived. They gave me that feeling like, "Oh, you have arrived," and I put the escape rooms together, and this time it was just at tables because this was my first start out, right?
Mhm.
So I didn't. I might have went into three escape rooms at this time, so I was still trying to figure out that escape room element, which I didn't have, and I realized that at the end because I was hearing some of the whispers with the children. They was like, "Man, this is not an escape room. This is, yeah, this is cool, but this is hard. Like this is man." And I had to admit, I mean, I was putting them first kids, the first wave, man, I was putting them through it. They had to put together motors and had it moving with a flame and all type of stuff, man. I mean, I had them when STEM,
Yeah.
man, I tried to feed them STEM, man, in the worst way, man. And I was like, man, I gotta dim it down. And then I have to make it like an escape room. So just that experience, it never left me. It was like, that's not the outcome that I wanted. Even though the admins and everybody around me was like, man, that was dope. The first three books I did was Holes, The Time Machine, and The Hate You Give, and I had it at three different tables. And it wasn't an escape room at the time. It was more like an academic exercise. And I said, nah, this is not it. But I'm getting there. And I took that feedback, and then my next escape room was the elevator, where I built it from out of a phone booth, and I put the insulated walls. So when you're inside of there, if you're in there too long, it gets hot, right? So it gives you that claustrophobic feeling as well because it's 5 by 5. So I really dove into that escape room element where you feel like you're trapped, it's hot, it's you have to look at things on the wall. You got to use UV light, you got to use steam on the mirror and find numbers, you got to put plugs together. I really outdid it. So when I was in the library, this one parent came out and it was like almost as if she was in tears, like, who put this together? I said, I did. She was like, you did that? Your mind made you construct something like that? And I said, I literally just when I'm reading, I get the visual and it's just telling me to put it together like this. And she was like, man, this is incredible. And that's when I really just stood back for a second and took it all in. Like, oh wow, the people really they really enjoyed it. Then I had a lot of people that I used to go out in the at the library. I would go outside the library. It would be 50 kids, like just waiting to go into the escape room. And I would service all of them. I would stay there until it shut dead till the library shut down. And it was like, man, we thought you was gonna be here for an hour. I said there was over 50 children waiting to get into the escape room. I can't just do half of that and just say, okay, man, another time. No, I'm gonna service all of them. And the following day I came back and I seen people that was out in the street on the corners. I got even the older individuals, people in their 20s and their 30s off the street. Yeah, come in and I have an escape room experience in here, and they came in and they loved it, and then they started talking about how they want me to come to the community centers and get involved. And man, it was a beautiful thing. So the outcome that I was looking for, I definitely received that and more. I definitely my it definitely exceeded my expectations.
And that's when you knew, hey, I got something here. I mean, you knew that before that, but then everybody else knew, which just confirmed what you already knew. That's
Yes, absolutely.
what's up. So anything else you want to add before we wrap it up? Before we get off of here, I want you to put down all your information, websites, all that. People can find you. You know, I'm gonna put it out there now. I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds, but sponsorships are always important. If you like what the brother's doing, hey, reach out to him and let them know, hey, I can sponsor you. If you have a business, that's always good marketing. Especially when we're working with each other. But anything you want to say to wrap it up?
I just want to say, man, I appreciate your time. And as a community, we really all we have. We always had downtime. So now as we come together collectively, man, we could change so much, especially in the 21st century. The AI and just the access to information is leveling the playing field, and we got to take advantage of it, man, in every aspect that we do. And if you have a vision or a goal that's separate or looks different from someone else's, man, go with it. Go with it, and you'll get the support. The people will be there to support you. If it's, if it's helping the community out or helping one another, go for it. No matter how hard it might feel in the beginning, man, listen, it's never a failure. It's always lessons. So I appreciate your time, your platform, and listen, man, it's been my honor to be here.
That's what's up, brother. We appreciate you bringing the hawk. Well, I'm hawk. I'm saying from Philly, a lot of cats from Philadelphia say hawk. It means truth, basically. But appreciate
Yeah,
you bringing the truth, man, and sharing your vision. And obviously, we can see the excitement and the passion in what you're doing, which is great, man. And you're helping youth, man. And, like I said, any way I can be a part of it, I'm gonna be a part of it. Definitely have you on the podcast, multiple times, to share the progress, share the growth, and all those type of things. But before we head out, drop your information where people can find you, people can look you up, like I said, support you, all that type of stuff.
absolutely. Again, my name is Justin Cook. I'm from Uplifting NY, the Learning Renaissance. You can see my website at www.upliftingny.org. Again, that is www.upliftingny.org. And you can reach me. I'm located right now in Southeast Queens. And man, all my information is on that website. So go check it out. Go look me up, and hopefully we can work something out and get something going, man.